Hello, and welcome to this episode in the series Python for Beginners. In this video, we look at an important element of programs, which is expressions. The fragments of program code that produce or calculate new data values are called expressions. And the simplest kind of expression is a literal. For example, the values 10 and 2.5. These are numeric literals and their meaning is quite obvious. We also saw examples in our previous programs where we manipulated textual data in some simple way. Text data is called strings. Let's see some examples of these literals in the shell. Now I'm going to fire up a new shell. So x gets the value of 10, y gets the value of 2.5. Then I can also say name gets the value of Lunga Radicani. Okay, and then I can print the name. Okay, so this over here is a string literal. It's inside single quotation marks. 2.5 is a numeric literal, and 10 is a numeric literal. And I've assigned these two variables. But don't worry if you do not understand how variables work for now. We will cover that in a later video. So, strings can be thought of as a sequence of printable characters. But we will cover strings in more depth also in a later video. Now, the process of turning an expression into an underlying data type is called an evaluation. When you type an expression into a Python shell, the shell evaluates the expression and prints out a textual representation of the result. Now consider this small interaction. If I simply type 32, the shell will type, if I simply type 32, the shell outputs 32. If I type hello, the shell outputs hello. And if I type a string 32, the shell outputs 32 as a string, as we see here in quote marks. Notice that when the shell shows the value of a string, it puts the sequence of characters in single quotes. This is a way of letting us know that the value is actually text and not a number or some other data type. Now, a simple identifier can also be an expression. We use identifiers as variables to give names to values. When an identifier appears as an expression, its value is retrieved to provide a result for the expression. Let's see an example of this in the shell that illustrates the use of variables as expressions. X gets the value of 5. Now let's print X and we get 5. Let's say print X and we get 5. Now let's try something interesting. Let's say print spam and we get an error that says the name spam is not defined. So what happened in this little interaction that we did right now? Well, first the variable x is assigned the value 5 using a numeric literal 5. In the second line of interaction, we are asking Python to evaluate the expression x. In response to that evaluation, the Python shell prints out 5, which is the value that was just assigned to x over here. Of course, we get the same result when we explicitly ask Python to print the result of x, which is what we get over there. Now the last interaction over here shows what happens when we try to use a variable that has not been assigned a value. Python cannot find a value, so it reports a name error, as we see over there. This says that there is no value with that name. The important lesson here is that a variable must always be assigned a value before it can be used in an expression. Now, more complex and interesting expressions can be constructed by combining simpler expressions with operators. For numbers, Python provides the normal set of mathematical operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponentiation, as we see here. There's even another one which I can include, which is called modulus, and that is the percentage sign. But we will get into those in another video where we deal with mathematical operations and numeric data. So here are some complex expressions that we wrote in chaos.py, which is in videos 2 and 3 of the series, and then also in convert.py, which is in video 4. Numeric literal, and an operator, and a variable, and an operator, and some more complex expression over there. And then putting those ideas together again, we have that over here. So we need to note something. Spaces are irrelevant within an expression, but not in a string where a white space is a character. So let me show you what I mean real quick. If I should say x gets the value of 1 plus 1 without putting any spaces, and I wonder you see what's x, it will give me 2. If I say y gets the value of 1, I put a space and a plus and a 1, and I want to see what is y, still gives me 2. So it is irrelevant within an expression whether or not you have spaces, but only for a string it is relevant, because inside the quote marks, if you put a space, then that will become a white space character. Name gets the value of Lunga Marikane. Now note, I put a space in front. So when I output the name, I get that space over there. So what this means is we could have written the expression like this, more compactly without any white spaces. As we see there, it used to have spaces there, for example. But it is more readable to include spaces in expressions. And this is in line with PEP 8. So it's more readable to have this. Okay. Now, important to remember, Python's mathematical operators obey the same rules of precedence and associativity as in school maths, including the use of parentheses to modify the order of operation, and is known as BODMAS or BOMDAS. So, for example, we could construct an expression such as the following that you see over here. So how it would work is, this would be evaluated, and then you get the result divided by 2 multiplied by n, and then that's one result that you add with, you work all this together. Okay. Now Python also provides operators for strings, and some of these mathematical operators will work on strings, and one example is that we can add strings together using the plus operator or the addition operator. But more of this will be demonstrated in a later video which will cover strings. So let's fire up the shell and just show you how string addition works that I've discussed here. If I say hello and I say plus John, now let's just put a space here. You see, I've added hello was one string literal because it's enclosed in quotation marks, and space John is another string literal which is enclosed in quote marks, and I have the plus or addition operator there. I've added these two string literals together to form one string literal, hello John. I want you to try and write a program that converts distances measured in kilometers to miles. Okay, you may pause the video here and we'll come back for the solution right after that. Right, so the solution for our program will go something like this. And then we run that, F5, and let's see what the shell says over here. What is the distance in kilometers? So let's try putting in 1. And we see this is the conversion that Google actually gave us. So it's working correct. If we try calling main again, distance in kilometer, 100, we get something like that. Now there's many decimal places here, and we will do some handling for decimal points for nice output and formatting in later videos. And we can even do in later videos some handling of the case where there's only 1 kilometer and we do not want to output kilometer with a plural, with a S at the end. We will do all those in later videos, but for now, this is sufficient for us, and here's the solution to our program. So, finally, I do not want to leave you empty-handed. So on your own, write a program to perform a unit conversion of your own choosing. Make sure the program prints an introduction that explains what it does. And if you need any help, feel free to reach out to me in the comments section. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, although it was a bit technical, but I'm sure you learned a lot. In the next one, we will look at output statements and specifically the print statement. So, see you in the next one.